Several features of this quartet sure to coexist and/or interact with Macklay's older, modernist techniques, and her 20th century avant-garde ethos conspicuously harken back to common practice or pre-modern tonality, tertian harmonies, triadic progressions, teleological structural genesis, traditional instrumentation, continuing developing variation, and familiar formal designs. These can be heard from the very beginning. Let's listen. Perfect authentic leading tone, imperfect authentic cadences, and plagal progressions, involving the explicit tonicizations of 13 different triads, are confined by C major harmonies in measures 1 and 6. The roots of triads will begin in capital letters with a plus or minus symbol to indicate major or minor quality, respectively. Yet tonal expectations are not the only voice leading expectations a listener should bring to this music. Although the term voice leading is and will continue to be used synonymously with the term part writing, or what Dimitri Tmazhko formalized as bijective voice leadings, implying a fixed number of voices, in this case, 3. Yet Macklay's harmonic appropriations are hardly reversions to common practice. The term assimilation is suggested because at the core there remain significant and generalizable features of post-tonal harmonic practice, one being motivic projection. Generally defined, a triadic progression is motivic to the degree that triads are projected along a distinct motivic pathway. It involves triadic transformation to the degree that its triads either connect by having the voices move as economically, parsimoniously as possible, or by inverting around 1 or 2 notes of the preceding triad. But before fleshing out these concepts with more precise definitions and examples, the issue of what does and does not constitute a harmonic progression in Macklay's music requires some attention. For the purposes of this study, a harmonic progression is defined as a totally ordered succession of single triadic sonorities involving idealized voice leads between the 1 chords of each distinct key area as established by a cadential formula, meaning that triadic progressions so defined are represented by their most efficient 1-to-1 voice lead. Given this definition of harmonic progression, the kind of PC diversity that characterizes Macklay's overall harmonic practice involves non-duplicative successions of tonal centers, which serve as essentially freely atonal melodic lines that are harmonized by her triadic vertical sonorities. This type of writing takes Macklay farther away from European and closer to American modernism. Ruggles' sacrifice of PC non-repetition for the sake of motivic repetition has been discussed, and a very rapid quasi-atonal change of key implication has been noted in Ives music. The image of total chromatic saturation that Mike Searby uses to describe Ligeti's textural music of the late 1950s and early 1960s also serves, I think, as an appropriate metaphor for the PC diversity of Macklay's basse fondamentale. The composer's priority to include most, if not all, of the pitch class aggregate by completely soaking the musical space, both vertically and horizontally. In the next audio clip, you will hear a representative harmonic progression from a passage involving 2 complete musical textures occurring at the same time from many, many cadences, while the predominant, dominant, tonic, deceptive cadences, and plagal progressions continue above in the upper textural layer. The harmonic progression shown in example 4b is occurring underneath. Here we are. No. 65. What's wrong with system 6? Anyway, the lower textural layer of measures 46 to 88 involves the explicit tonicization of 11 triad roots. And knowing that the 12 inversional axes are analogous to the 12 major and minor keys of traditional tonality, example 4C features yet another motivic structure that consists of all but one, PCA, of the 12 notes, again as PC roots, of the chromatic scale that is not only symmetrical around both poles of the 0-6 inversional axis, which are adjacent to each other in measure 74, but it's quite literally an incarnation of that axis. All roots in the measures leading up to the 0-6 agents adjacency on the left side of the axis of symmetry on the pitch class clock face are on the left side of the axis of symmetry on the pitch class clock face, while all roots in the measures leading away from the 0-6 adjacency are on the right side of the axis on the clock face. Throughout our string quartet, most triadic transformations weight the minor second and somewhat less so, the major second considerably more than the minor third and much less so any remaining interval class. A non-duplicative successions of chord roots in example 4 for many cadences display intervallic voice leading preferences very typical of Macklay's triadic transformations. Her triadic harmonies strongly gravitate toward parsimonious voice leading transformations involving the semitone and the major second interval classes, or what Julian Hook refers to as uniform triadic transformations, or UTTs. Although Tomashko defines triadic transformations, for example neo-Riemannian transformation, as a strictly harmonic phenomenon that does not specify any particular mapping between its notes, Richard Cohn explains that these transformations invert triad, mapping major and minor triads to each other, and that because the inversional axis is defined in relation to the triad's component pitch classes rather than as a fixed point in pitch class space, this class of transformations is now referred by the term contextual inversion. The present study asserts that Macklay's use of this class of triadic transformation is often equivalent to a contextually fluid voice mapping that can be described as a dual process of inversion. Works such as many cadences can include extended harmonic passages, analyzable according to a form of contextual inversion, in which relations by pitch class inversion are camouflaged by numerous assumed transformations, in parentheses, that do not actually appear in the passage of passages. It explains why Macklay's harmonic progressions generally do not appear to spotlight any single systematic standarding from one triad to the next. Moreover, this seeming process of redaction is, according to Macklay himself, motivated by nothing more than the composer's instinct. A dramatic example of a twofold brand of contextual inversion is provided in example 5, the last 6 measures before A1, which brings it into the B section of this quartet's ternary form. This succession of triads can be interpreted simply as the result of transposition from parsimonious voice leading and vice versa, or it can be expanded by a process of double inversion into a much larger progression. Example 5 illustrates one very important abstract possibility. Beginning with D sharp major and moving by T0I and T4I in alternation, one arrives at a cycle of 6 triads, major and minor triads built on D sharp, D, G, B flat, B, and F sharp. Moving through the cycle involves leading to voices elsewhere by no more than 2 semitones. So the voice leading conforms to interval class 1-2 parsimony. That is, each triad differs from its adjacent triads by semitonal and whole tonal movement of voices. The cycle as a whole involves only 6 different pitch classes, and these correspond to the hexatonic collection hex 2-3. When the cycle is written out as alternating 1s and 3s, the triads of the hexatonic poles, like D minor and G major, seem to bear a minor dominant tonic relationship to each other, and together comprise set class 0, 2, 4, 6, 9. After arriving back at D sharp major, a different double inversional cycle, moving by T0I and T1I, seems to begin. But this is instantly interrupted by an L transformation that is just as immediately reversed. The succession consists of 4 triads, 2 major and 2 minor, that except for D minor, share common tones with G sharp minor. In like manner, except for the progression from D minor to E major, which in parsimonious terms involves one voice moving by a minor third, each triad in its final succession differs from its neighbors by voice leading, consisting of movement by ones and twos. If one presents this chord progression in normal form as a cycle, two of the triads lying opposite each other, D sharp major and G sharp minor, seem to bear a dominant tonic relationship. Skye Macklay, if she is indeed using a double inversional process, often contextual in the sense of inverting around pitch class components shared between both assumed, in parentheses, and or non-assumed adjacent chords, to connect triads of the same quality in many, many cases, then perhaps evidence may be found in the expanded fundamental bass of the entire passage, considered as the octachords 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, T, E. This octachord contains 9 subsets belonging to the triad set class 0, 3, 7, 5 of which are the various triads which actually appear in the score in measures 130 through 136. And so, along with the remaining parallel minor versions of the 4 major quality chords of this passage, produces what looks very much like significant evidence that a process of double inversional triadic transformation is indeed taking place. Ioannis Xenakis, in the chapter on Markovian and stochastic music theory, in his 1992 book, Formalized Music, Thought and Mathematics in Composition, uses kinematic diagrams. If we appropriate these for this study's own special non-mathematical use, and revisit example 1, we see once again how measures 1 through 6 lay out the roots of the major and minor key areas of Macklay's American harmonic consciousness and the opening of many, many cadences. C major, E flat major, A major, E flat minor, G major, E major, D flat major, B flat minor, D major, B major, A flat major, F major, E flat major, F sharp minor, C major. The alphanumeric designation with superscript above each triad letter name is the C3 interval cycle to which the PC root belongs, and because PC center motivic projection, interval class 1-2 voice leading parsimony and dual process contextual fluid inversion largely determines the content of the harmonic progression, the kinematic or transition diagram, in which each term is connected to its transform by an arrow, can be regarded as a general, graphical expression of triadic connectivity, regardless of transformation type. To clarify, the study's kinematic graphs are not to be viewed as mathematical structures made up of vectors that may, for example, be added with another vector or multiplied by a scalar value. This being the case, the application of graph theory would result in problems of graphical enumeration, arising from vertices that are considered identical or unlabeled. Thus, the kinematic diagrams of this paper concern themselves purely with motion and not with what causes that motion. This is basic to the very definition of kinematics, the study of motion without regard to its cause. Therefore, one must be careful not to confuse kinematics with kinetics, the study of motion as caused by forces and moments, which actually would require the strict application of a specialized area of mathematics. Example 14 revisits the opening of many, many cadences where the enclosures contain the set class 731, to which both tonicized root successions belong, and the value between 0 and 1 in the columns indicate the collectional bias of this set class. The graph charts the change of bias from octatonic 0-1 to octatonic 2-3. The harmonic progression starts on its tonic with negligible bias. Then the bias increases significantly with the arrival of D flat, forming with the following B flat, set class 731. Set class 731's fairly strong association, 0.8, with octatonic 0-1, begs to be extended with an F sharp to set class 828, since this is the distinctive sound world implied by its linear structural properties. However, the base fondamentale of tonicized roots descends 9 semitones to D, taking an unexpected path. But this only demonstrates a compositional decision at this point in Maclay's harmonic progression to go to a chord other than F sharp major or F sharp minor, that nonetheless contains the PC F sharp as a chord member. A return to example 4 provides a very attractive example of a succession of triadic simultaneities in the quartet that has no readily discernible compositional scheme. In this saturational root progression, all but one of the 12 tones as roots of tertial harmonies, presented in order of appearance: B, F, E, B flat, G, A flat, D flat, C, F sharp, D sharp, D, make up a harmonic texture that accompanies the faster texture made up of the ongoing cadential formula, as you may remember. This 11-note line nearly exhausts the aggregate, a continuation that honored IC12 voice leading parsimony or dual process contextual fluid inversion might reuse a former PC, while the continuation that honored PC motivic projection would obviously go to A at some point. Therefore, considering both features, there is no hierarchical system that is especially illuminating, making the A that one might expect to end this 11-note succession very mysterious by its omission. Or to put it another way, the first 6 PC roots, B, F, E, B flat, G, A, of the aggregate, belongs to the set class whose port name is 6Z13, while the last 6 PC roots, if they included A, D flat, C, F sharp, D sharp, D, A, belongs to the set class whose port name is 6Z42, the zygotic mate of 6Z13. To complete this Z relation, Macklay would not have had to violate either of the 2 features. In this excerpt, she could have placed A anywhere in the progression without violating either IC12 voice leading parsimony or dual process contextual fluid inversion, while continuing a strict observance of PC's motivic projection by completing a saturational presentation of the aggregate. However, unlike the tonicization of C throughout this quartet, Macklay does nothing to articulate the tonicity of A in this passage of textural simultaneity, beyond omitting it in a manner reminiscent of an axis which passes between 2 notes a semitone apart. Yet, later in the quartet, Macklay brings back a tetrachordal member of a subset of this material. The 11-note root progression is made up of no less than 16 subsets of set classes 0, 1, 3, 6, at different dynamic levels, at a slower tempo, and for what is arguably the express purpose of comprising A. The quartet boasts 5 statements of the progression C major, A minor, F sharp diminished, B major, the roots of which constitute a member of set classes 0, 1, 3, 6, at a transposition which includes A. In the middle section of this ternary form, of which the first, measure 108, is shown in example 11.